Today, you will hear the beginning of Yetunde's story. A story that started in a house full of wealth, but empty of mercy. In a family where the cry of a child was valued more than the tears of a wife. The Adeyemi estate stood on the outskirts of Ibadan, where the red earth road opened into wide acres of cocoa trees, cassava fields, and palm groves. The main house was painted cream and brown, with high pillars, a long veranda for family meetings, storehouses, servants' quarters, and a courtyard where women spread cocoa beans to dry under the sun. People in the nearby villages called it a blessed house. There was food in the store, money in the bank, land that stretched farther than the eyes could count, and a family name respected from Ibadan to Lagos. But the people outside did not know what silence lived behind the polished doors. Akinwale Adeyemi had inherited the estate after his father died. At 34, he was known as a serious man, one who inspected the farms himself and could stand under the sun with workers without losing his dignity. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned, with a trimmed beard and eyes that could make a room quiet before his mouth opened. When he wore his dark agbada with coral beads for family gatherings, he looked like a man born to command. Yet in his heart, one fear had grown stronger than reason. Akinwale wanted a child. Not just any child in the distant future, but a son, an heir, a boy who would carry the Adeyemi name and prove before his mother, his uncles, his workers, and the whole community that he was not the last strong branch of a powerful tree. That fear did not come only from him. It came from his mother, Mama Ronke Adeyemi, a woman whose tongue was sharper than broken glass. She had protected the estate during disputes and believed that the family name was more important than anybody's happiness. To her, a wife who did not give birth quickly was like a beautiful calabash that could not hold water. Yetunde had entered that house 5 years earlier as a young bride with shy eyes and a heart full of hope. She came from a modest family in Oyo. Her father had a small provision shop near the market, and her mother sold fabrics and gele. They were respected people, but the Adeyemi name was far above them. When Akinwale's family came to ask for Yetunde's hand, her parents believed God had opened a door. Yetunde was 21 then. She had smooth dark skin, a calm face, and large eyes that seemed always ready to forgive. Her hair was usually braided neatly or covered with a scarf where she walked in the house. She knew how to cook, sew, read accounts, welcome guests, and speak with elders without raising her voice. Even the servants liked her because she treated them as human beings, not as furniture moving from room to room. In the beginning, Akinwale was gentle with her. He bought her books from Lagos, took her walking through the cocoa rows in the evening, and smiled when she learned the names of workers' children. At night, they sat on the veranda while crickets sang in the dark, and he told her about plans for the estate. Yetunde listened with admiration, believing she had married not only a wealthy man, but a good one. The first year passed without pregnancy, and nobody worried too much. The second year passed, then the third. By then, Mama Ronke's playful comments had turned into heavy words that stayed in Yetunde's chest like stones. Mama Ronke began to arrive more often from Lagos, carrying herbs from one woman, bitter drinks from another, prayers written by one prophet, and warnings from old aunties. She forced Yetunde to drink mixtures that burned her throat. She spoke about wombs, blood, curses, and hidden sins as if Yetunde's body were a faulty machine that could be repaired by shame. Akinwale saw it all, but he did not stop it. At first he told himself his mother was only concerned. Then he began to believe the worry. Each month that came and passed without pregnancy became another accusation. He stopped asking Yetunde how she felt. He only watched her face, counting days in his head like a man waiting for rain in a cursed season. Yetunde tried to remain patient. She prayed at dawn. She followed every instruction. She visited doctors in Ibadan and Lagos. The doctor said nothing was clearly wrong, that sometimes the body needed time, that both husband and wife should be examined properly. But Akinwale did not like that suggestion. His pride refused to consider that the problem could touch him too. "Men in my family do not have such problems," he said one evening when Yetunde gently repeated the doctor's advice. She looked at him across the room. "The doctor said we should both check properly." I heard what he said. "Then why are you angry with me?" "Because every time we talk about this, you make it sound as if I am the one failing." Her mouth trembled. "I have never said that. You do not have to say it." That night, he slept in another room for the first time. After that, the distance grew like weeds after rain. By the 4th year, Akinwale spoke to her only about household matters. The tenderness that had once lived between them became a memory she did not know whether she had imagined. He stayed longer in the fields. He traveled to Lagos without telling her when he would return. During meals, he read messages on his phone while Yetunde sat beside him like a carved chair. The workers noticed. Madame Bisi, the old housekeeper, began to leave extra food in Yetunde's room because she was eating less in the dining room. Yetunde's cheeks became thinner. The songs she once hummed while arranging flowers disappeared. She moved through the house quietly, careful not to disturb the sorrow that had become her shadow. Even Babatunde, the estate manager who had served the family for decades, tried to warn Akinwale. He told him that Yetunde was fading, that she was being punished for something no one understood, that doctors had asked both husband and wife to test properly. But pride had already closed Akinwale's ears. He ordered the old man out of his office. Babatunde bowed his head and left him with one sentence that would return later like a curse. "One day, you may look for what you threw away and find only ashes." Those words angered Akinwale more than he admitted. But that evening, when he saw Yetunde sitting alone by the window, sewing a torn shirt for one of the stable boys, something uncomfortable moved in his chest. He crushed it quickly. Pity was not the same as solution. He needed a child. Mama Ronke arrived the next week and brought the final poison. She came with 2 uncles and a family lawyer. They sat in the inner parlor while Yetunde served them chilled zobo and small chops. Nobody asked her to sit. Nobody thanked her when she left. After she went upstairs, Mama Ronke leaned toward her son. "Akinwale, we have waited enough. 5 years is not 5 days. A house without a child is not a home. You are the only son carrying your father's bloodline. Are you going to let one woman end everything?" Akinwale rubbed his forehead. "Mama, divorce is not a small matter." "Then do not call it divorce. Call it correction. The marriage can be dissolved traditionally. Whatever name you like, the meaning is the same. You need a wife who can give birth." One uncle cleared his throat. "Your mother is right. People are already talking. They say maybe Adeyemi blood has weakened." That sentence stabbed Akinwale exactly where his pride lived. The lawyer spoke carefully. "If Madame Yetunde returns to her family quietly, compensation can be given. No scandal is necessary." Compensation. As if 5 years of loyalty could be folded into an envelope. "I will think about it," Akinwale said. But in his heart, the decision had already begun to form. For weeks, he avoided her even more. Yetunde sensed something had changed. There was a new finality in the way servants stopped speaking when she entered. Madame Bisi cried secretly in the pantry. Babatunde no longer met her eyes. Mama Ronke smiled with cold satisfaction each time they crossed paths. The truth came on a hot evening when the sky turned copper and thunder threatened from far away. Yetunde was in the garden cutting hibiscus flowers when Pastor Elijah arrived with Akinwale and 2 elders from the family. Akinwale would not look at her. Pastor Elijah held a folder against his chest. His face carried the discomfort of a man sent to do another person's cruelty in the name of order. "My daughter," he began, "we need to discuss your marriage." Yetunde placed the flowers on the bench. "My marriage?" Akinwale finally raised his eyes. They were tired, hard, and strangely empty. "It is better you return to your parents for now," he said. The words were soft, but they broke something louder than thunder. "For now?" she whispered. Mama Ronke appeared at the veranda as if she had been waiting to witness the moment. "Do not make drama, Yetunde. You know this house needs children." Yetunde looked from her to Akinwale. "Is that what I am to you, a failed womb?" He flinched, but not enough to defend her. "I have tried," he said. "We have both tried." "No," she answered. "I tried. I drank everything they gave me. I swallowed insults. I prayed until my knees hurt. I went to doctors. I asked you to come with me, and you refused because your pride was bigger than the truth." One of the elders frowned. "Young woman, mind your tone." Yetunde turned to him. "My life is being thrown away. Let my tone stand where it wants." Akinwale's face tightened. "Do not make this harder. You made it hard the day you stopped seeing me as your wife." For a moment, silence held the garden. Even Mama Ronke had no quick answer. Then, Akinwale said the sentence that would live inside Yetunde for years. "I need an heir. You cannot give me that." She stared at him, waiting for regret to appear. Nothing came. Only fear dressed as certainty. Yetunde nodded slowly. "Then let God judge between us." She went upstairs by herself. In the bedroom, she opened the wardrobe and saw the clothes Akinwale had once bought for her in Lagos and the wrapper she wore on their first anniversary. She touched them one by one, then left most behind. What was the use of carrying memories from a house that had rejected her? By morning, 2 bags sat beside the front door. Only Madame Bisi came openly to say goodbye. She held Yetunde's hands and wept. "My child, this is not right." Yetunde tried to smile. "Pray for me, Mama." Babatunde stood near the gate, his face heavy with sorrow. He pressed a small envelope into her palm and told her not to argue. She closed her fingers around it because refusing would break his heart further. Akinwale stood on the veranda, stiff as a man carved from wood. Mama Ronke remained behind him, satisfied and silent. Yetunde looked at her husband one last time. She wanted him to stop her. She wanted him to run down the steps, to say he had been foolish, to say they would face the shame together. But he only stood there, trapped inside the prison of his own pride. The car started. As it carried her down the red earth road, Yetunde did not cry at first. She watched the cocoa trees pass, then the palm groves, then the gate of the Adeyemi estate disappearing behind dust. Only when the house vanished completely did she place one hand over her stomach, not because she knew yet, but because some deep instinct in her body had already begun to protect the secret life growing silently inside her. She whispered into the moving air, "Whatever happens now, I will not let this pain bury me." The road to Oyo stretched ahead, dry and uncertain. Behind her stood the house that had called her barren. Before her waited shame, hunger, whispers, and exile. But within her, hidden from every cruel mouth, the future of the Adeyemi name had already begun to breathe. When Yetunde reached Oyo, The sun was already sinking behind the low roofs, and the market stalls were folding into evening. The car stopped before her father's compound, a small house with peeling blue paint, a patched zinc roof, and a narrow veranda where sacks of rice and cartons of soap once stood when business was better. She sat inside the car for a moment, unable to move. The driver carried her 2 bags to the gate and lowered his eyes with the quiet pity people give to someone whose shame has become public property. Her mother, Mama Shade, appeared first. She had been sorting pepper on a tray. When she saw Yetunde, her hand froze above the red seeds. Behind her, Papa Femi came out from the small shop attached to the house, still wearing his brown cap and tired work shirt. Nobody ran to embrace her. Mama Shade wiped her hands on her wrapper. So, it is true. Yetunde stepped out of the car. Mama! Papa Femi looked at the bags, then at his daughter. Akinwale sent you back? The question did not need an answer. Yetunde lowered her head. Her mother made a sound, half cry and half anger. Ha! Yetunde, after everything, after all the prayers, after all the respect we gave that family. I did not choose this, but you are the one standing here with bags. The words hurt more than Yetunde expected. She had imagined disappointment, maybe even scolding, but a foolish part of her had still believed that her mother's arms would open. Instead, the compound gate felt narrower than the road behind her. Papa Femi turned away. Bring the bags inside before neighbors start counting our shame. That night, Yetunde slept in the small room she had used as a girl. The mat was thin, the window did not close properly, and the wall still carried faint charcoal marks from childhood. She lay awake, listening to her parents whisper in the parlor. What will people say? Mama Shade asked again and again. People have already started saying, Papa Femi replied. When a woman returns from a rich husband's house without children, mouths will not rest. She should have tried harder. What else could she try? I do not know, but women are managing worse things and still keeping their homes. Yetunde closed her eyes. No one asked how she had been treated. No one asked what Akinwale had said. No one asked whether her heart had survived the journey. In the morning, the neighbors knew. Weeks passed. The rainy season withdrew, leaving the air hot and dusty. Yetunde lived under her father's roof, but not inside his peace. Mama Shade complained about every extra spoon of stew. Papa Femi avoided long conversations. Her younger brother Kunle was the only one who still brought her oranges from the market and asked if she had eaten. Then one morning, while washing clothes behind the house, Yetunde felt a wave of nausea so violent she dropped to her knees. She thought it was hunger. The same thing happened the next day. Then again, food smells became too strong. Her breasts ached. She was tired even after sleeping. When her monthly flow did not come, she sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall for a long time. No, it could not be. Not now. Not after 5 years of waiting inside marriage. Not after being called barren before elders. Not after being sent away with 2 bags and a broken name. But her body did not ask permission from shame. Days became weeks, and certainty entered her quietly. Yetunde was pregnant. The first person she told was Kule. He found her sitting under the mango tree behind the compound, one hand pressed against her stomach. The afternoon was hot, and flies circled a basket of plantain nearby. Sister, what is wrong? He asked. She looked at him with eyes full of fear. Kunle, I am carrying a child. His mouth opened, then closed. For Akinwale? She almost laughed at the sadness of needing to say it. Who else? Kunle sat beside her and took her hand. Then you must tell him. That evening, Yetunde borrowed paper and pen from the pastor's wife. She sat by a kerosene lamp and wrote slowly because her fingers trembled. She told Akinwale about the sickness, the missed month, and the certainty growing inside her. She did not beg him to love her. She did not ask to return as if nothing had happened. She only asked him to know the truth before the child entered a world already poisoned by lies. She wrote that the baby was his, conceived before he sent her away. She wrote that God had answered, too late for his pride, but not too late for the child. When she finished, tears had fallen on one corner of the paper. She folded the letter carefully and gave it to a driver who carried goods between Oyo and Ibadan twice a week. She paid him with almost all the money Babatunde had placed in her hand before she left the estate. "Make sure it enters Chief Akinwale's hand," she said. The driver nodded. "I know the estate. I will deliver it." For the first time in weeks, Yetunde allowed herself to hope. Back in Oyo, Yetunde waited. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3. No reply came. Every passing day confirmed what her heart had feared. Akinwale had read her truth and chosen silence, or worse, had refused to read it at all. Hope became humiliation. The child inside her, still hidden from the world, became both blessing and wound. When her mother finally noticed, it was because Yetunde vomited beside the cooking fire and could not stand quickly enough. Mama Shade stared at her. "How long?" Yetunde wiped her mouth. "Mama." "How long have you known?" Papa Femi came in from the shop. "What is happening?" Mama Shade pointed at Yetunde as if she were something unclean. "Your daughter has brought another shame." Yetunde stood slowly. "I am pregnant." The room exploded. Papa Femi's face darkened. "Pregnant? For who?" "For Akinwale." He laughed once, a bitter sound. "A man sent you back for not having children, and now you want us to believe this child is his? It is his. Do not lie to me in my house. I am not lying." Mama Shade began to cry. "You have killed me. Divorce was not enough. Now pregnancy without husband." Yetunde's voice shook, but she did not lower it. "I was still his wife when this child was conceived. I wrote to him. He did not answer." "Of course he did not answer," Papa Femi shouted, "because he knows the truth. Maybe this is why he sent you away. Maybe he knew you had brought disgrace under his roof." The accusation struck harder than anything Akinwale had said. Yetunde stepped back. "Papa, how can you say that?" "How can I say it? Because the world is not blind. A woman rejected for barrenness suddenly returns pregnant? Who will believe you?" "God knows." "Then go and stay with God, because this compound cannot carry more shame." Mama Shade grabbed his arm. "Femi, please, at least until the child is born." He breathed heavily, eyes fixed on Yetunde. "She can remain until her stomach becomes too much. After birth, she must find where to go. I will not raise another man's bastard under my roof." Yetunde's hand moved to her belly. Something inside her, small and silent, seemed to ask for protection. She had never felt more alone, but in that moment, she understood that loneliness was not the worst thing. Weakness was. A small storage room behind the compound was cleared. It had once held broken chairs, empty cartons, and old farm tools. The roof leaked near one corner. Yetunde moved there without argument. The first night, rain fell and water dripped into a basin until morning. She lay awake with one hand on her stomach. "My child," she whispered, "they may call you shame, but I will call you mercy." In her 4th month, the money from sewing was no longer enough. She needed food, soap, oil, cloth for the baby, and some money hidden for the day her father would send her away. Her body was changing, but necessity did not respect pregnancy. She began to collect firewood. At first, Kunle followed her to the bush near the outskirts of Oyo, where fallen branches lay after storms. He cut larger pieces while she gathered smaller sticks. But when Papa Femi discovered Kunle had been helping her, he beat the boy and warned him not to encourage disgrace. After that, Yetunde went alone. Every morning, she tied a wrapper firmly under her belly, carried a small cutlass, and walked the red path toward the bush. The early air smelled of dust, leaves, and distant smoke. She searched for dry branches, cut what she could, tied them with rope, and carried the bundle on her head back to the roadside. Some women bought from her because the price was low. Others bought because pity still had a small corner in their hearts. The work hardened her hands. Blisters opened and dried. Her shoulders ached. Sometimes, dizziness forced her to sit under a tree until the world stopped spinning. Yet, she continued. Each bundle of wood became a promise that her child would eat. Far away in Oyo, truth was growing beneath Yetunde's heart. One evening, as harmattan dust began to enter the air, Kunle came secretly with a small cloth bundle. "I saved this," he whispered, "for baby clothes." Yetunde opened it and found pieces of soft cotton, old but clean. Tears filled her eyes. "You will be a good uncle," she said. He grinned, "and you will be a strong mother." After he left, Yetunde sat alone outside the storage room. The sky above Oyo was full of stars. From the main house came the low voices of her parents, still discussing shame, still afraid of neighbors, still unable to see the miracle breathing under their roof. Yetunde placed both hands on her belly. She had lost her husband's house. She had lost her parents' trust. She had lost her place in the market and the easy respect of women who once greeted her with admiration. But she had not lost herself. Inside her, the child moved again, small but determined. Yetunde looked toward the darkness and whispered, "We will survive. Even if nobody believes us now, we will survive long enough for truth to find its own road." And somewhere far away, in the Adeyemi estate, the ashes of an unread letter slept cold in the fireplace, waiting for the day they would rise inside Akinwale's conscience like a flame that refused to die. Weeks passed over Oyo like harmattan dust, covering everything until even pain seemed to wear a thin veil. Yetunde's belly grew rounder, and with it grew the whispers that followed her from the compound to the market road, from the bush path back to the small storage room where she now slept. At first, she tried to walk with her head high. She told herself that truth did not need the approval of people who enjoyed lies. But some days, when women stopped talking the moment she passed, courage became heavy. Still, she rose before sunrise, tied her wrapper beneath her stomach, carried the cutlass, and went to the bush to gather firewood. Her hands, once soft from sewing and arranging flowers in the Adeyemi house, became rough with small cuts. Each bundle of wood became food, soap, palm oil, or one small piece of cloth for the child inside her. Far away from that small room, Akinwale Adeyemi was trying to bury the past under new plans. Mama Ronke had introduced him to Morenike Lawson, a beautiful woman from a wealthy Lagos family. Morenike knew how to smile at elders, lower her voice at the right moment, and make every room feel arranged for her arrival. She wore expensive dresses, spoke of Abuja dinners, and praised the Adeyemi estate as if she were already choosing which walls to repaint. Mama Ronke adored her. To her, Morenike was proof that the family name could still be repaired. Akinwale allowed himself to be convinced. One morning, Morenike asked to visit the estate again before returning to Lagos. She wanted to see the guest wing, the stables, and the place where she said she would bring proper Lagos taste once she became mistress of the house. Akinwale drove the cart himself because she said it felt romantic. He was listening to her describe imported curtains when he saw a woman by the roadside. At first, he saw only a poor pregnant woman carrying wood. Then something in the curve of her shoulder, beneath suffering, struck a place in him memory had not managed to kill. He pulled the reins so hard the horses protested. Morenike jerked forward. "Akinwale, what is wrong with you?" He did not answer. The woman slowly turned. The world stopped. Yetunde. But not the Yetunde he had sent away. Not the woman who once walked through his house in clean wrappers, with quiet eyes and gentle hands. This woman looked as if life had dragged her through dust and left only the parts that refused to break. Her cheeks were thin. Her lips were dry. Her dress was faded and torn near the hem. One hand held the rope that tied the firewood. The other rested under her swollen belly. Her belly. Akinwale could not breathe. Yetunde's eyes met his, and for one terrible moment, they were husband and wife again. Then her face changed. She pulled the edge of her scarf lower and looked away. Morenike followed his gaze. Her mouth curled. What kind of depressing sight is this? Pregnant women now carry firewood like market slaves? This is why I cannot stay in these villages too long. Misery everywhere. Akinwale flinched. Yetunde heard. Of course she heard. Her back stiffened, but she said nothing. She bent carefully, trying to adjust the slipping rope. The movement caused her. Her knees shook. A small gasp escaped her mouth before she could hide it. Akinwale stepped down from the cart without thinking. "Akinwale," Morenike snapped. "Where are you going?" He walked toward Yetunde. She lifted one hand, stopping him before he came close. "Do not." His name, which she did not speak, hung between them like judgment. "Yetunde," he said, and his voice sounded strange to his own ears. She did not look at him. "Please continue your journey." "How far along are you?" The question came out rough, almost desperate. She laughed softly, without joy. "So now you can count months?" His face drained. Morenike stepped down from the cart, irritated. "Is this the woman?" Yetunde turned then, and Akinwale saw pride rise through her exhaustion, like fire through ash. "Yes," she said. "I am the woman." Morenike looked her up and down. "I see." Yetunde's hand tightened around the rope. "No, you do not." The two women stared at each other. Morenike's beauty seemed suddenly cold, like glass under sunlight. Yetunde was poor, tired and wounded, but the road, hunger and shame had not conquered her dignity. Akinwale could not stop looking at her stomach. His mind began to count against his will. The weeks before she left, the month after, the letter he had thrown into the fire because he had seen her handwriting and refused to let her voice enter the room. His chest tightened until pain spread beneath his ribs. "You wrote to me," he whispered. Yetunde's eyes flashed. "So you remember there was a letter?" "I did not read it." "I know." The words were simple, but they struck him harder than shouting. Morenike folded her arms. "Akinwale, this is not proper. We are standing on the road discussing with a woman who clearly has her own problems." Yetunde looked at her. "My problem is standing beside you." Morenike gasped, but Akinwale turned to her. "Please get back in the cart." "Are you ordering me because of your former wife?" Please. Something in his voice silenced her, but fury entered her eyes. She returned to the cart with stiff steps. Akinwale faced Yetunde again. Is the child mine? For a long moment, she only stared at him. Then she lifted the bundle of wood with painful effort and placed it more firmly against her head. No, she said. Blood will say what blood says. But you rejected this child when you rejected the truth. You burned my words before you knew what they carried. So do not stand on this road and ask me what belongs to you. He looked as if she had slapped him. I did not know, he said. You did not want to know. The bundle swayed. Akinwale instinctively reached out to steady it, but she moved back so quickly that pain crossed her face. Do not touch me. He dropped his hand. Yetunde turned and began to walk toward the market road. Each step was slow. The wood pressed into her neck and shoulder. The child inside her seemed too heavy for her thin body, yet she did not allow him to help. Akinwale stood frozen until she disappeared behind a bend lined with dry grass. Morenike's voice came from the cart. Are we done with this embarrassment? He turned slowly. For the first time, he truly saw her. The polished dress, the perfect hair, the disdainful mouth, the impatience with suffering because suffering was untidy and did not match her perfume. He saw not only her, but himself reflected in her contempt. The ride back to the estate was almost silent. Morenike tried twice to speak about the wedding arrangements, then stopped. His mind remained on the road, on the swollen belly, on the letter. When they reached the estate, Mama Ronke was waiting on the veranda. But one look at her son made her smile fade. What happened? Akinwale ignored the question. Where is Babatunde? In the storehouse. Why? He walked away before she finished. He found the old estate manager checking sacks of cocoa. Babatunde looked up, saw Akinwale's face, and dismissed the workers. You have seen her, the old man said. Akinwale stopped. You knew. I knew enough. Why did you not tell me? Babatunde's eyes hardened. Tell you what you refused to hear? Tell you what arrived in her own handwriting and entered your fire before it entered your head? Akinwale gripped the edge of a wooden table. The child is mine. Yes, the word was quiet, final. Akinwale closed his eyes. Are you sure? I am sure of the woman Yetunde is. I am sure of the timing. I am sure she had no other man. If you need more than that, wait for the child's face to shame you. Akinwale bent forward as if the air had been knocked out of him. Babatunde did not soften. She came back to Oyo carrying your child and your insult. Her father called the baby a bastard. Her mother turned away. She lives in a storage room and sells firewood while you plan wedding decorations. Stop. No, you stopped your ears for too long. She has been going to the bush alone. Your child is growing under hunger while this house discusses Ashwebi colors. Akinwale covered his face. What have I done? The old man's voice lowered. You allowed fear to dress itself as family honor. You allowed your mother to turn a wife into an accusation. You allowed pride to burn the only letter that could have saved her. Akinwale sank onto a bench. He remembered Yetunde's hand on her belly, the way she stepped back from his touch, the way she said he did not want to know. Shame entered him so deeply, he felt it in his bones. I must go to her. Go as what? Babatunde asked. The husband who sent her away? The father who refused his child? The rich man who thinks food and money can repair a woman's broken name? Akinwale looked up, eyes red. Then what should I do? Begin by ending the lie you are about to marry. Morenike was in the parlor when he returned, sitting with Mama Ronke as if nothing had changed. They were discussing wedding colors. Gold and emerald, Morenike said. Modern but royal. Akinwale stood at the doorway. Morenike, he said, we need to speak. Mama Ronke looked between them. About what? In private. Morenike rose slowly and followed him to the study. When the door closed, she did not wait. If this is about that woman, I hope you understand how insulting today was for me. Akinwale stared at her. The child is mine. Morenike's face changed. First shock, then calculation. Even if it is true, you must think of your reputation. Support her quietly. Send her somewhere far. If the child is a boy, perhaps later you can bring him in without destroying everything. He stared at her as if she had become a stranger in the middle of his sentence. Bring him in quietly? Be practical. You and I can still marry. We can still have legitimate children. Your mother will support this as long as there is no public disgrace. Akinwale laughed once, but there was no joy in it. Public disgrace, that is what concerns you. What should concern me? The happiness of a woman who clearly failed to keep her place? The room became still. My marriage to you is over, he said. Her mouth opened. You cannot be serious. I am. My father has already spoken to people. Invitations are being prepared. Do you know what this will cost? Send the cost to me. Her eyes filled with anger, not tears. You will regret humiliating my family. I already regret worse. Morenike left the estate that afternoon in a car ordered by Mama Ronke, who raged so loudly that workers heard from the courtyard. She called Yetunde a witch, called the pregnancy a trap, called Morenike's humiliation a disaster. For the first time in his life, Akinwale did not answer his mother with obedience. He let her speak until her anger tired itself. Then he said, You helped me destroy my wife. Mama Ronke froze, and I allowed it, he continued. That is my sin. But from today, no one will speak of Yetunde with contempt in my hearing again. That night, Akinwale did not sleep. The estate was quiet, but his mind was full of the sound of wood shifting on Yetunde's shoulder, the sound of Morenike calling her misery, the sound of Babatunde saying the child was his. He sat beside the cold fireplace and stared at the place where he had burned her letter. Ashes were gone, but the truth had not died with them. Before dawn, he rose and gave orders for his horse to be prepared. He did not know whether Yetunde would accept food, money, shelter, or even one word from his mouth. But he knew one thing with a certainty that frightened him. The life he had been planning was a lie. The woman he had thrown away was carrying his future. And the road to forgiveness would be harder than any road he had ever walked. Before the sun had fully risen, Akinwale rode out of the Adeyemi estate with shame riding heavier than any saddle. He did not take guards, and he did not wait for breakfast. The workers who saw him leave whispered that their master was riding like a man, running toward the fire he had started with his own hands. The road to Oyo had never seemed so long. Every woman carrying water and every child running beside the dust seemed to look through his fine clothes and see what he had done. He remembered Yetunde, laughing softly in the cocoa fields, greeting his mother with respect, waiting for him at dinner long after the food had gone warm. He had called her patience ordinary. Now that patience returned to him like a treasure he had thrown into a river. By the time he entered Oyo, the market was awake. Women called prices over pepper and tomatoes. The smell of akara mixed with smoke. Near the place where he had seen Yetunde carrying firewood, an old woman selling roasted corn recognized him and narrowed her eyes. You are looking for the pregnant woman, she said. Akinwale swallowed. Yes, ma. Now you are looking. He lowered his head. Please, where can I find her? The woman pointed with her fan. behind the pepper stores, ask for Femi's compound. But if you are the one who put sorrow on that girl's head, do not carry more there." He thanked her and followed the narrow road until he found the compound. Peeling blue paint, patched zinc roof, a small shop with faded signs. Papa Femi sat outside counting coins. When he saw Akinwale, his face hardened. "What do you want here?" Akinwale removed his cap. "I came to see Yetunde." Papa Femi laughed bitterly. "You remember her name?" "I deserve that." "You deserve worse." Mama Shade came out, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "Have you come to deny the child again, or to warn us not to mention your family name?" "No, Ma. I came because I was wrong." Papa Femi stood. "Wrong? Is that what rich people call destroying somebody's daughter?" Akinwale bowed his head. In another time, his pride would have rebelled. Now, pride felt like a dirty cloth he wanted to tear from his body. "I will answer for it," he said. "But first, please let me see her." From behind the compound, a weak voice said, "No." Akinwale turned. Yetunde stood near the storage room door, one hand on the wall, the other under her stomach. Her wrapper was faded, her blouse repaired at the shoulder. Her face was thinner than he remembered, but her eyes were clear and painful, filled with all the things he had refused to see. "Go back to Ibadan," she said. "Yetunde, do not call my name as if it still belongs in your mouth." He flinched. "I came to apologize." "No, you came because you saw my belly on the road." "Yes," he admitted. "And because I learned what I should have known before." "You learned?" Her laugh was dry. "I wrote to you. I begged you to know. You threw my voice into fire." "I did. I burned the letter." Mama Shade covered her mouth. Papa Femi muttered a curse. Yetunde became very still, as if she had expected the truth and still felt the blade of it. "You burned it." "I saw your handwriting and refused to read. I told myself it was better not to look back. I was proud. I was cruel. I was afraid of truth because truth might prove that I had done wrong." "You had done wrong long before that letter." "Yes." His answer angered her because he did not argue. Akinwale took one step, then stopped when her body stiffened. "The child is mine." "No," she said quietly. "This child is mine. Mine by hunger, mine by tears, mine by walking to the bush when my back wanted to break, mine by swallowing insults so this baby could have one more day of life. Your blood may be inside, but your care has not been." The words crushed him. He wanted to say he did not know, but that excuse had died on the road where he saw her carrying wood. "I want to help." "You will," she said. "Men like you always think money is the first language of repentance." Papa Femi looked from his daughter to Akinwale. "If the child is yours, then take responsibility." Yetunde turned sharply. "Papa." The old man looked away, ashamed but stubborn. "We are poor. The child will need things." "I will not be sold twice," Yetunde said. Akinwale lifted his hand slightly. "No one will force you. Not me, not your father, not my family. I am not here to take you." "Then why are you here?" "Because I need you to know that I was wrong. Because I need to see with my own eyes what my pride did. Because I cannot go back to that house and continue living as if I did not leave you to suffer." Her eyes shone, but no tears fell. "Your suffering has just started. Mine has been keeping me company for months. I know. You do not know. You slept on a bed while I slept beside leaking walls. You ate meat while I counted gari. You listened to your mother call me barren while your child moved under my heart. Akinwale lowered his head. Then teach me by letting me listen. That silenced everyone. Kunle came around the corner carrying a bucket of water. When he saw Akinwale, he placed it down with deliberate care. So, you are the man, he said. I am the one who watched my sister cry. I am the one who saw her hands bleeding when she came back with wood. Akinwale took the words without moving. Yetunde touched her brother's arm. Enough. Kunle obeyed, but his eyes remained full of fire. Akinwale took a breath. I broke off the engagement with Morenike. Yetunde's face flickered, then hardened. That is your business. I know. I only wanted you to know I will not marry another woman while you carry my child. How noble. You stopped adding insults after finishing the injury. Yes, he said softly. That is the size of my honor now. Small. For one moment, something like pity crossed her face. Then the war returned. I am tired, she said. Leave. Yetunde, please let me send a doctor. No. Food at least. No. Clothes for the baby? No. Then what can I do? She looked at him for a long time. Go home and remember, that is all you are allowed to do today. He wanted to resist. Every part of him screamed to fix, to carry, to command solutions into place. But he was beginning to understand that control had been one of his crimes. So he bowed his head. I will go, but I will return. I may not receive you. I will still come. Then you will learn how a closed door feels. He nodded. I deserve to learn. Akinwale left the compound under the eyes of neighbors pretending not to watch. He had gone to beg forgiveness and discovered that forgiveness was not a door opened by regret. It was a road that might refuse his feet forever. Back at the estate, Mama Ronke waited like a judge. When he said he had gone to Oyo, her face hardened with disgust. For the first time in his life, Akinwale did not bow before her anger. She was my wife when she conceived my child, he said. For 5 years, you poured shame on her, and I allowed it because I was weak and proud. That ends now. If the child is mine, he or she will be acknowledged. If Yetunde never forgives me, she will still be respected. Mama Ronke stared at him as if he had become a stranger. I am choosing truth over the lie we built together, he said. That night, Akinwale entered the bedroom Yetunde had once shared with him. Her side of the wardrobe was almost empty, except for one scarf she had forgotten or refused to take. He held it in his hands and sat on the bed until dawn. The room did not feel like a room abandoned by a barren woman. It felt like a room emptied by injustice. The next morning, he sent Babatunde to Oyo with food, cloth, medicine, and money. Everything came back untouched by afternoon. She said your kindness should first learn patience, Babatunde reported. Akinwale closed his eyes. She is right. For days, he returned to Oyo himself. Sometimes, Yetunde refused to come out. Sometimes, Kunle blocked him and said she was resting. Akinwale accepted each humiliation because humility, he was beginning to learn, could be medicine when swallowed without excuse. One afternoon, he arrived during a small crisis. Yetunde had fainted after returning from the market road. Mama Shade was crying, Kunle was shouting for water, and Papa Femi stood helplessly in the courtyard. Akinwale forgot caution and ran inside. Yetunde lay on a mat, pale and sweating. Her breathing was shallow. For one terrible second, the world narrowed to the fear that he had come too late. Get a taxi, he told Kunle. Now, we are taking her to the clinic. When Yetunde opened her eyes and saw him, she tried to sit. No. Akinwale knelt beside her, keeping his hands visible, not touching. Please, not for me, for the child. Let the nurse check you. If after that you want me gone, I will go. She looked at him with hatred, exhaustion, and fear. Then her hand moved to her belly. The child shifted under her palm, answering before she could. Only the clinic, she whispered, nothing more. At the small clinic near the church, the nurse scolded Yetunde for poor feeding, stress, and heavy labor. She said carrying firewood in late pregnancy was dangerous. Yetunde listened without looking at Akinwale. He stood near the door, every word cutting him. The baby is strong, the nurse said at last, but the mother must rest. If she continues like this, both will be at risk. On the way back, Akinwale spoke carefully. I will pay for clinic visits without troubling you. You do not have to see me. You do not have to thank me. Let the nurse send bills to Babatunde. She looked out the window. You still think money can hide you inside help? No, I think my child may die if your pride and mine continue fighting while your body suffers. Her head turned sharply, but he did not soften the truth. I destroyed enough with pride, he said. If you must hate me alive. Eat, rest, let the nurse see you. Do not punish your body because my hands are dirty. Tears filled her eyes, sudden and furious. You have no right to speak sense now. I know. You should have spoken it before. I know. You should have chosen me before I became this. I know. The repetition broke something in her. She turned away, covering her mouth as silent tears fell. He did not reach for her. He did not claim the right to comfort the pain he had caused. When the taxi stopped, she got out slowly. Before entering the compound, she paused. The clinic bills can go to Babatunde, she said. Only that. Akinwale's breath shook. Thank you. It is not forgiveness. I know. It is not welcome. I know. It is for the baby. Yes. She entered without looking back. That night, Akinwale returned to the estate and sat in his father's old chair until morning. For the first time in months, he did not pray for an heir. He prayed for Yetunde's life. He prayed for the child. He prayed that if forgiveness never came, he would still have the courage to do what was right without reward. And in the small storage room in Oyo, Yetunde lay on her side with one hand under her belly. Food from her mother sat beside her, slightly more than usual because fear had softened the compound for one evening. The child moved gently. She closed her eyes and saw Akinwale kneeling beside the mat, hands open, voice lowered, not commanding. The memory disturbed her. She wanted him to remain only a monster in her mind because monsters were easier to reject. But guilt had changed his face and patience had begun to stand where arrogance once lived. No, she whispered into the dark, we will not trust too quickly. Still, somewhere behind the pain, a small uncertain space opened. It was not forgiveness, not even hope, only the first question of whether a man who had broken everything could one day learn to build without destroying. The days that followed did not bring peace, but they brought a different kind of waiting. He did not force it wider. He did not send servants with baskets and speeches. He learned to stand outside the compound until someone chose to speak to him. Babatunde came to Oyo with money for medicine and notes from the nurse. Sometimes he brought oranges wrapped in brown paper. At first, Yetunde refused them. Then one afternoon, after vomiting twice and feeling the child move weakly, she accepted them without looking at the old man. That night, she ate under the leaking roof, crying because even kindness could taste like defeat when it came from the house that had wounded her. Akinwale began to understand enough to be silent. He visited the clinic only when the nurse sent word. He stayed outside during checkups unless Yetunde allowed him to sit near the door. When the nurse said the baby's heartbeat was strong, he looked as if somebody had returned breath to his body. Yetunde saw it once and hated the small warmth that moved inside her chest. She did not want him to look like a father. Fathers had rights. Fathers had names. Fathers stood in naming ceremonies while people praised their lineage and forgot the mother's blood. This child had been kept alive by her hunger, anger, and stubborn steps to the bush and back. She would not allow Akinwale to arrive at the end and collect honor like a man harvesting a farm he did not plant. Weeks continued. Yetunde entered her 8th month. Harmattan came early, carrying dry wind that cracked lips and turned evenings cold. The storage room became harder to live in. Dust slipped through gaps in the wall. At night, the cold entered the floor and climbed into her bones. Mama Shade had softened after the clinic incident, but fear and shame still lived in her like old smoke. She brought Yetunde pap sometimes, or beans with palm oil, but she did it quietly, as if kindness might embarrass the compound if seen. Papa Femi remained difficult. He no longer called the baby a bastard in Yetunde's hearing, but pride held him too. He could not easily accept that he had accused his daughter wrongly, so he moved around her with stiff silence, pretending that love was not looking for a way back. Then the rain came. It started in the afternoon with a black line of cloud rising over Oyo. Traders packed their stores quickly. Yetunde was sitting in the storage room, folding the small cloth pieces Kunle had saved for the baby, when the roof began to tremble. Rain hit like stones. Within minutes, water came through the corner above her mats. She moved the basin there, but another leak opened near the wall. Then another. She tried to lift her bag away from the water, but pain tightened across her lower belly, sudden and deep. She stopped breathing. The pain faded. She waited. It came again, stronger. "Mama," she called, but rain swallowed her voice. She reached for the wall and stood, but dizziness bent the room sideways. Her hand went to her belly. The child shifted low, heavy and restless. "No, not now," she called again. This time, Kunle heard. He burst into the storage room and saw water spreading across the floor. Yetunde leaning against the wall with her face pale and shining with sweat. "Sister, call Mama," she whispered. "Something is wrong." By evening, the compound had become confusion. Mama Shade ran for the local midwife, Iyarisi, an old woman with firm hands and no patience for panic. Papa Femi sent Kunle to the clinic, but the nurse was away attending another birth in a nearby village. The rain worsened. Thunder rolled over the roofs. The road became mud. Iyarisi examined Yetunde and pressed her lips together. "The baby wants to come," she said. Mama Shade started to cry. "But it is early." "The baby did not ask your calendar." Yetunde gripped the edge of the mat. "Can the child survive?" Iyarisi looked at her, and the pause was answer enough. "You must save your strength. No crying, no shouting unless body commands it. Breathe." Pain came again. This time it stole the room. Kunle stood in the doorway, shaking. "I will go to the estate." Yetunde's eyes opened. "No." "Sister, we need help." "Not him." Mama Shade knelt beside her. "My child, this is not the time for pride." Yetunde laughed weakly through pain. Everybody calls it pride when a wounded woman wants control over her own suffering. Another contraction bent her. The argument died inside her throat. Iyarisi turned to Kunle. "Go. If that man can bring doctor, car, money, anything, bring him. Pride does not catch baby. Hands catch baby." Kunle ran into the rain. At the Adeyemi estate, Akinwale was in the office, pretending to read farm accounts when the gate guard rushed in, soaked and breathless. "One boy from Oyo is here, sir. He says it is urgent." Akinwale stood before the sentence finished. Kunle entered with mud up to his knees and rain dripping from his hair. His anger was gone. Only fear remained. "It is my sister," he said. "The baby is coming. Too early. The nurse is not there. The room is flooding. Iyarisi said to call you if you can bring a doctor." Everything in Akinwale became action. He ordered the jeep, sent a servant to fetch Dr. Okafor from Ibadan, and told Babatunde to bring blankets, clean cloth, lanterns, boiled water flasks, and the emergency medicine box kept for estate workers. Mama Ronke appeared at the staircase. "What is happening?" "Yetunde is in labor." "At this hour? In this rain?" Akinwale looked at her and she saw a man she could not command. "Pray, Mama. If you cannot pray, stay silent." He left before she answered. The road to Oyo was half river. The jeep slipped twice. Kunle sat beside him, gripping the door. Babatunde held the medicine box in the back, murmuring prayers in Yoruba under his breath. Rain struck the windscreen so hard the wipers seemed useless. Akinwale drove like a man chased by judgment. When they reached the compound, Yetunde's cries had begun to tear through the rain. The storage room door was open. Lantern light flickered inside. Mama Shade's wrapper was stained with water and mud. Papa Femi stood under the veranda, face grey with fear. Akinwale moved toward the room, but Iyarisi blocked him at the doorway. "You cannot enter anyhow." "I brought supplies. Doctor is coming." "Good. Stand where I put you. If she tells you to leave, you leave. If I tell you to hold lantern, you hold lantern. Today, you are not chief, you are hands." Akinwale nodded. "Yes, ma." Yetunde heard his voice and turned her head. Sweat stuck her to her face. Her eyes were wild with pain. "Why is he here?" she gasped. Kunle came to her side. "I called him. I said no." "I know. Hate me later. Leave now." Another wave seized her and she screamed. Akinwale stepped back as if the sound had struck him physically. This was the woman he had once left alone in rooms full of silence. Now her pain filled every corner and there was no curtain he could close. Dr. Okafor arrived almost an hour later, soaked, carrying his bag and anger. Why was she in such condition this late? He demanded after examining her. "She is weak. Baby is badly positioned. We need to move her to the clinic or hospital." "The road is flooded," Babatunde said. "Then we do what we can here until it is safe. But understand me, this is dangerous." Akinwale's voice broke. "Save them." Dr. Okafor looked at him sharply. "Do not waste my time begging. Boil more water, find clean sheets, hold the lantern steady." The hours became a storm inside a storm. Rain hammered the roof. Water crept under the door. Lantern shadows jumped on the walls. Yetunde moved between consciousness and pain, sometimes calling for her mother, sometimes begging God, sometimes whispering that the baby must not die. Akinwale stood where Iyarisi placed him, holding the lantern until his arm burned. Every cry entered him like punishment. Once, Yetunde looked at him through fevered eyes and said, "Do not take my baby." He nearly dropped the light. "I will not," he whispered. "I swear. I will not take anything from you again." She did not know if she heard him. Near dawn, the baby finally came, small and slippery, into the doctor's hands, but the room did not fill with crying. Silence. Akinwale's heart stopped. Dr. Okafor worked quickly, rubbing the child, clearing the mouth, tapping tiny feet. Iyarisi prayed under her breath. Mama Shade sobbed without sound. Yetunde tried to lift her head. "My baby," she whispered. Then, thin as a thread, but fierce as life itself, a cry rose. A boy. Akinwale covered his mouth and wept. Dr. Okafor wrapped the baby and placed him briefly near Yetunde's face. She turned her head with the last of her strength. Her lips touched the child's forehead. "My son," she breathed. Then her eyes rolled back. Blood spread too quickly. The joy vanished. Dr. Okafor shouted for cloth, pressure, medicine. Yarisi moved like lightning. Mama Shade cried out. Akinwale stood frozen until Babatunde pushed the baby into his arms. "Hold your son and stand back," the old man said. "Do not become another problem." His son. The child was tiny, angry, alive, wrapped in cloth that already felt too big for him. Akinwale held him with shaking hands, looking from the small face to Yetunde's pale one as the doctor fought to stop the bleeding. "Do not die," he whispered. "Please, Yetunde, do not leave him because of my sin." For the rest of that morning, Yetunde hovered between life and death. The rain stopped, but the compound remained drowned in mud and fear. Dr. Okafor said she had lost too much blood and was dangerously weak. Moving her now might kill her. They had to keep her warm, clean, and watched every minute. Akinwale did not leave. When the baby cried, he held him. When the doctor needed hot water, he carried it. When Mama Shade's hands shook too much to fold cloths, he folded them. When Papa Femi sat outside with his head in his hands, Akinwale placed a blanket around his shoulders without speaking. Yetunde did not wake fully that day. Sometimes her eyelids fluttered. Once she whispered, "Wood," as if still trying to gather firewood in her dreams. Akinwale turned away because the shame was too much to bear. Night came again. Dr. Okafor remained. Kole slept sitting against the wall. Mama Shade took the baby once and held him against her chest, whispering apologies to Yetunde, to the child, to whatever part of motherhood she had betrayed through fear. Akinwale sat beside the mat but did not touch Yetunde. He watched her breathing the way a poor man watches the last flame in his lantern. Every rise of her chest was mercy. Every pause was judgment. Just before dawn, Yetunde's eyes opened. Her gaze moved to the bundle sleeping in Mama Shade's arms. Panic flashed. "My baby!" Mama Shade brought him quickly. "He is here! He is alive!" Yetunde touched his cheek with trembling fingers. Tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. Then she saw Akinwale. He stood slowly. "I will leave if you want." She stared at him for a long time. Her voice was barely more than air. "Did he cry?" Akinwale nodded. "Yes, small voice, but strong." "Good." Her eyes closed, then opened again. "Name him nothing yet." "I will not. No naming without me. Never. No taking him to your house. I swear." She seemed too tired to decide whether to believe him, but she did not tell him to go. That silence, fragile and uncertain, held him in place. Outside, the first light spread over the wet compound. Roosters began to call from neighboring houses. Inside the small storage room, a child had been born from rejection, and a proud man had begun to understand that repentance was not spoken with tears, but lived beside the damage until healing chose whether to come. For 3 days, Yetunde remained between sleep and waking, held to the world by the thin cry of her son and the stubborn strength that had carried her through shame. The leaking roof had been patched with zinc sheets Akinwale bought before anybody could argue. Clean wrappers hung across one corner. Dr. Okafor came every morning and evening. He checked her pulse, listened to her breathing, and warned everybody that she needed rest more than words. Iyarisi stayed near, pretending to grumble while watching Yetunde with the fierce tenderness of women who had seen too many mothers slip away after childbirth. Mama Shade moved like a person carrying guilt on her back, boiling water, washing clothes, cooking light soup, whispering prayers whenever Yetunde's eyes closed too long. Akinwale did not go back to Ibadan. At first, Yetunde thought it was another performance, one more way for a rich man to show people that he could repair what he had damaged. But days passed and he remained. He slept on a wooden bench in the veranda when Papa Femi refused him space inside. He ate whatever was given without complaint. When the baby cried, he stood outside the curtain until someone allowed him to enter. He never took the child without asking. He never called him by a name. He never said, "My son," where Yetunde could hear it. That restraint disturbed her more than any command would have done. On the fourth morning, she woke to find him sitting near the doorway, not inside the room, holding a basin while Mama Shade washed the baby. His fine clothes were gone. He wore a simple white kaftan, wrinkled from long hours, and his beard had grown uneven. There were shadows under his eyes. When the baby began to cry, Akinwale's whole face changed. Pain, love, and fear passed across it so nakedly that Yetunde had to look away. She did not want to see his love. Love was dangerous when it arrived after destruction. That evening, she asked for Akinwale. The compound went still when Kule carried the message. Akinwale entered slowly, stopping near the doorway as if the floor itself belonged to her permission. "I need to say something," she said. "I am listening. You will not take him. I will not. You will not send your mother here to claim him. I will not allow it. You will not give him a name behind my back. Never. You will not use money to make my family pressure me." Akinwale swallowed. "I have already done enough through pressure. I will not do that again." She watched him carefully, searching for the old impatience. She found fear instead. "He will know the truth one day," she said. "Not a sweet version. He will know that I was sent away, that I wrote, that you burned my letter, that I carried him in hunger, and that he was born in this room because pride closed the doors of your house." Akinwale bowed his head. "He should know. And if he hates you, then I will accept what my actions planted." Her lips trembled. "You are saying the correct things now. I know words are cheap. Yes, they are." He looked at her then, directly but humbly. "Then give me no credit for them. Watch what I do when no one praises me." She turned her face to the child. "I am too tired to watch anybody. I will still do it." The first true change came not with romance, but with wood and zinc. 2 days later, Yetunde heard hammering outside the compound. She asked Kunle what was happening, and he smiled in a way that made him look young again. "They are fixing the old room properly. New roof, new floor, door that locks, window with nets." Her eyes hardened. "Who ordered it?" "Akinwale. Tell them to stop." Kunle's smile faded. "Sister, rain enters where you sleep. I did not ask him. You did not ask rain either, but it still entered." She glared at him, but her strength failed before her anger. The hammering continued. By evening, the storage room no longer looked like a place for rejected things. It looked like a small but decent room with clean walls, dry floor, a proper bed, a mosquito net, a shelf for baby clothes, and a small cradle made by a carpenter from the market. Yetunde cried when she saw it. Not because she was grateful. Gratitude felt too simple. She cried because the room proved how little it would have taken to protect her and how much she had suffered because no one chose to do little things in time. Akinwale saw her tears and misunderstood nothing. "This should have been done before," he said quietly, "not after." She did not answer. The naming ceremony became the next battle. Mama Ronke arrived from Ibadan on the 7th day after the birth, dressed in expensive lace, gold jewelry, and anger disguised as dignity. The compound tightened as if a storm had entered with perfume. Yetunde was inside, holding the baby, when Mama Ronke swept in without greeting properly. "Where is my grandson?" Akinwale stepped between them before Yetunde could speak. "Mama, you will greet his mother first." Mama Ronke stared at him. "What did you say?" "I said, greet Yetunde first." Mama Ronke's nostrils flared. "Yetunde, well done." Yetunde looked up. Her voice was weak but steady. "Thank you, Ma." Mama Ronke's eyes dropped to the baby. Something softened there despite herself. "He is Adeyemi blood." "He is my son," Yetunde said. The room froze. Akinwale spoke before his mother could explode. "And he is Adeyemi blood because she carried him. Do not separate those truths." Mama Ronke turned on him. "You are allowing this girl to insult me?" "No, I am preventing us from insulting her again." The naming was small. Yetunde refused the big ceremony. No drummers, no crowd from Ibadan, no show of wealth that would turn pain into family celebration before she was ready. Pastor Elijah came quietly. Iyarisi attended. Babatunde stood at the back, crying openly when he thought nobody watched. Yetunde chose the name. "His name is Ayomide," she said. "My joy has come." Akinwale closed his eyes. Papa Femi added a Yoruba praise name with a broken voice. Mama Shade whispered blessings over the child's head, weeping. When Pastor Elijah asked Akinwale if he had a name to add, he looked at Yetunde first. She hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. "Babajide," he said, "Father has returned." Yetunde's face changed, not into forgiveness, but into understanding of the confession hidden in the name. The father who had returned was not only the baby, it was Akinwale himself, trying to return from the far country of his pride. After the naming, months began to pass. Yetunde's body healed slowly. Strength returned to her legs. Her face filled out little by little. She could bathe Ayomide without help, sit outside in the evenings, and later walk to the market road with Kunle beside her. People still whispered, but the whispers changed tone when they saw Akinwale arrive every few days, not with noise, but with quiet consistency. He paid the clinic, but the receipts were given to Yetunde. He brought supplies, but he placed them in Mama Shade's hands and left before gratitude could become debt. He never entered her room unless invited. When Ayomide cried, he asked before carrying him. When Yetunde refused, he accepted. When she allowed it, he held the child like a man holding a second chance made of breath and fragile bones. One evening, Ayomide was 3 months old when rain began again, gentle this time. Yetunde sat under the veranda, nursing him beneath a light cloth. Akinwale stood near the gate, preparing to leave for Ibadan. "You can wait until the rain stops," she said. He looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "It is only rain. Do not make it look like I invited you into paradise." For the first time in many months, a small smile touched his face. "I will not." He sat at the far end of the veranda. The rain fell soft on the zinc roof. For a while, neither spoke. Then Yetunde said, "Why did you want a child so badly?" He took a long breath. "Because I was afraid of being the end of my father's name." "Were you afraid or were you proud?" "Both, but pride shouted louder." She adjusted the baby. "You made me feel like my whole life had one purpose. Womb first, woman after." Akinwale's face tightened with shame. "I know." "No, listen. When the doctors said both of us should be examined, You refused because manhood in your mind was too holy to question. So every month became my trial. Every bleeding became evidence against me. Do you know what that does to a woman? No, he whispered, but I want to know if you can bear to tell me. So she told him, not everything, not yet, but enough. She told him about counting days in fear, about Mama Runke's herbs, about aunties touching her stomach as if searching for missing proof, about sleeping beside him while feeling alone, about walking through his house like a servant whose employment depended on pregnancy. She told him about the letter, how she folded it, paid for its journey, and waited like a fool for words that never came. Akinwale did not interrupt, not once. When she finished, rain had stopped. The air smelled clean, almost new. I cannot undo it, he said. No. I cannot ask you to forget. No. I cannot even ask you to trust me. She looked at him then. That one you can ask one day, but not yet. He nodded, and something like peace, painful but honest, settled between them. When Ayomide was 6 months old, Akinwale came to Oyo, carrying nothing but a small wooden rattle made by one of the estate carpenters. Yetunde was sitting outside, plaiting her hair. He made it from Iroko, Akinwale said. No paint. Safe. She took it, examined it, and placed it beside the baby. Thank you. The words shocked them both. Akinwale stood very still. You are welcome. Do not cry, she said. I am trying not to. Despite herself, she laughed softly. It was brief, almost broken, but it was laughter. Ayomide waved his arms as if approving the sound. Akinwale looked away, because that small laugh hurt more than all her anger. That evening, before he left, Yetunde spoke again. I do not hate you every hour anymore. He looked at her, unable to speak. Some hours I remember too much. Some hours I see Ayomide in your arms, and I am angry that he knows your heartbeat. Some hours I want to forgive, and then I punish myself for wanting it. Akinwale's voice was low. You do not owe me forgiveness. I know, but I may owe myself freedom from bitterness. Yetunde, do not misunderstand. I am not returning to you. I understand. I am not ready to be wife again. Maybe I will never be. I understand. But Ayomide should not grow inside hatred. If you continue as you are, you may come more often. You may sit with him. You may speak with me when I allow it. The words were not love. They were not reconciliation. But they were a gate opening by the width of one finger. Akinwale bowed his head as if receiving a blessing. I will honor that. You had better, she said. He smiled sadly. I have learned that your warnings are more trustworthy than my promises. For the first time, she did not disagree. After he left, Yetunde carried Ayomide into the small repaired room and laid him in his cradle. Outside, Oyo settled into evening sounds, cooking fires, children shouting, radios playing distant music, women calling across compounds. Her life was still not whole. Some wounds still woke before she did. Some memories still entered like thieves. But the room was dry. Her child was breathing. Her name was no longer only shame. And somewhere on the road to Ibadan, a man who had once destroyed her peace was learning, step by step, that love was not possession, not pride, not lineage, but a daily decision to protect what one had once failed to value. Yetunde touched her son's cheek and whispered, "We are not healed yet, my joy, but maybe healing has started walking toward us." 2 years later, when Ayomide was already running through the compound with dust on his feet and laughter in his mouth, Akinwale asked Yetunde to walk with him to the old mango tree behind her father's house. He did not come with drummers. He did not come with elders to pressure her. He came alone, holding one small box and carrying the kind of silence that had learned patience. Yetunde stood before him with Ayomide holding her wrapper. She was no longer the broken woman who had once slept under a leaking roof. Her cheeks had filled again. Her eyes were still careful, but they were no longer empty. Pain had not disappeared from her face. It had become strength. Akinwale opened the box. Inside was not a heavy gold ring meant to impress the world. It was a simple band, beautiful but modest. "I am not asking you to return to the past," he said. "That marriage died because I did not protect it. I am asking if we can build something new. Not because of Ayomide, not because of my family name, but because I love the woman you became after surviving what I caused. I love your courage. I love your truth." Yetunde looked at him for a long time. The old wound stirred, but it did not rule her anymore. "If I come back," she said, "I will not come back as the quiet wife who swallowed every insult. I will come back as myself. You will listen to me. Your mother will respect me. This child will know my story, not only your name." Akinwale nodded. "That is the only way I want you to return." She looked down at Ayomide, who was trying to catch an ant with his small fingers. Then she smiled, slowly, with tears in her eyes. "Then we will try, from the beginning." Their second wedding was small. No proud speeches, no show of wealth, only family, a few true friends, Babatunde, Iyarisi, Kunle, Mama Shade and Papa Femi, who cried when Yetunde entered the church with Ayomide. Mama Ronke came too. When the ceremony ended, she walked to Yetunde and bowed her head. "My daughter," she said, voice shaking, "I cannot erase what I did, but if you allow me, I will spend the rest of my life showing respect where I once gave shame." Yetunde did not embrace her immediately. She only answered, "Start with truth. Respect can follow." When Yetunde returned to the Adeyemi estate, she did not return to the old bedroom. Akinwale had remade the east wing into a new home for them, with wide windows, a nursery, and a small office where Yetunde could keep accounts. Slowly, the estate changed under her hands. Workers were paid on time. Their wives could visit the clinic without begging. A small fund was created for pregnant women in the villages, so no woman would carry firewood in pain. People began to speak of Madame Yetunde, not with pity, but with respect. Years passed. Ayomide grew strong and curious. Later came a daughter, then another son. In the evenings, Akinwale and Yetunde sat on the veranda while the children played near the cocoa trees. Sometimes, silence came between them, but it was no longer the silence of fear. One night, Ayomide asked why his mother always stopped beside the small grain store in Oyo whenever they visited her parents. Yetunde touched the wall gently before answering. "Because this was once the place where I almost lost everything," she said, "and now it feeds families who have nothing." Akinwale stood beside her. "Your mother survived it first," he told the boy. "I only helped change what my pride should never have allowed." Yetunde took his hand, not because the past was forgotten, but because it had finally found its proper place behind them. Their story was never told as a perfect love story. It was told as a warning and a blessing. Pride can throw away what heaven has given, but true repentance does not shout. It returns every day with humble hands until the wounded heart decides whether healing can enter. And in the Adeyemi house, where shame had once spoken louder than mercy, love finally learned to speak with truth.